guys, it's Emma, and I'm back today for you with another video. Today, let's just jump right into it. Today we're doing a rant review, alright? And we are doing a rant review for Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo, alright? Ninth House is about this girl named Galaxy, or Alex Stern, and she is accepted into Yale and basically tasked as the de facto police force, the security guard, right, for Yale's occult clubs. And these clubs are filled with people that can do all sorts of magic, and this magic, Alex learns, feeds into the real world, and she also learns that some of these occult activities are much more lethal than she realized. There are a lot of trigger warnings, and some of these I don't even remember whether or not all of these are for the entire book, all right, because I did not finish this. I want to preface that. I want to preface this video by saying that I did not finish Ninth House, all right? So if that's gonna bother you, then by all means, click out of this video, but just to let y'all know, I did not finish this book, all right? But the trigger warnings that I came across were for violence, rape and sexual assault / that of a minor, murder, drug addiction, overdose, death, gore, suicide, blackmail, self-harm, forced consumption of human waste, and date rape. Before I get any further into this video, I just want to say right now that this whole video is going to have a massive trigger warning, all right? A massive trigger warning for sexual assault and rape, all right? Because I was disgusted by this book. I'm not going to mince my words. I was revolted to the point where now if I think about a certain scene, if it pops into my mind, I physically recoil. Like, I feel my lungs retract to the back of my body to where they clash with my spinal cord. You never know. Ninth House may be my cause of paralysis one day. However, that day is not this day.
But it is not this day.
This is going to be a spoiler-filled rant review of Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Along with that disclaimer, I want to say, first off, I mean no hate towards Leigh Bardugo, towards fans of Leigh Bardugo, or towards fans of Ninth House, all right? These are wholeheartedly my opinions. And if you liked Ninth House, I can't say I understand why. However, I respect it, all right? We like what we like, we don't like what we don't like, and we can't necessarily tell people what not to read, now can we? All right, so this is purely a video full of my opinions, and yeah, this video may not be for you, but if it is, stay tuned. I DNF'd this book. I did not finish it. I DNF'd it around 26%. We're just going to be talking about why I DNF'd it and why I don't like this book as much as I do. And I will leave a link down below to Melissa Stacy's review because she goes much more in depth than I ever could. And I really do recommend looking at her review. Alongside Melissa Stacy's review, I will leave a sexual assault hotline link for anybody struggling with after effects of said traumatic event. Before we actually get into the rant review, what I want to know is, have y'all read this book? Did y'all like it? Did y'all not like it? Did y'all agree with the stuff that I'm going to be talking about later in this video, or did you not agree? Leave me your thoughts down below. Okay, so with that being said, let's get right into it. We're going to get into the main reason why I DNF'd this book, why a certain scene, if it pops into my head, causes me extreme discomfort and disgust. And that is the usage of rape or just sexual violence in and of itself. I DNF'd this book after the first sexual assault scene or after the first rape scene. There's two more, and each one is apparently more shocking than the last one. I don't know how anything could be more shocking than the first one that I read, all right? Because the first one was absolutely horrific. I just feel like with them being more shocking, than the last one. It just came off as shock value. And why the hell are you using rape for shock value? Or just sexual assault in general? Why are you using sexual violence as shock value? And the fact that this is Leigh Bardugo's first book as in the adult genre, it came off as it trying way too hard to fit into the adult genre. I've read The Child Thief, right, by Brahms, an example of an adult book that is a barbaric, brutal adult book, but that was really good. And you know what this and Ninth House don't have in common? This doesn't have a rape scene. Now, I'm not saying that Leigh Bardugo put in as graphic of a rape scene or as many sexual violence scenes as she did in order to make it seem adult, but that is what it came off as. Not to mention it came off as extremely tasteless, because the scene that I stopped at was right after Alex was talking about her trauma and how she was the victim of a spectral rape as a 12-year-old girl. And we were walked through that scene. All right, I am at a point in books where if I'm affronted with a rape scene, I'm at the point where if I have to be walked through it, if I have to see every single step, I'm disgusted. All right, why? Why? Where's the need for it? If you have to put in a rape scene, God forbid, make it fade to black. Why do I need to be walked through step by step, cue by cue, letter by letter, of a 12-year-old being assaulted in such a violent way? What is that? What in the fuck are we doing here? And then something that Melissa Stacy really brought into account that I hadn't even noticed until she said it. All of the sexual violence scenes have very strange pornographic connotations to them. I don't want to get into why. I don't want to get into the details why. However, let's just say that a lot of things that the victim does after being assaulted and a lot of the things that the victim does while being assaulted, you can compare them to a lot of really disturbing pornographic tropes. Then again, I can see where this could be nitpicky in some way, shape, or form. However, now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it. So that physically disgusted me. And totally ruined the story, because up until then, I was having a pretty decent time. The next thing that I had a pretty big problem with was just the weird and flimsy drug use representation type thing going on. We're supposed to believe that Alex is an addict, is someone who has friends who are addicts, who had drug dealer boyfriends, who overdosed on fentanyl with one of her friends. And we don't see any symptoms of withdrawal or relapse. It's just not realistic. All right, it came off as, oh yeah, we're just gonna put drug addiction into this book to make Alex's past seem as horrific and terrible as we can. And if you're gonna put something that is as dark, that is as affecting as drug usage is, I don't think it's that over the top to ask for at least the bare minimum. And then the last thing that I want to cover, this is relatively minor compared to obviously the first con and then the second con, but this was just way too long. Now, I know I said before that I was having a relatively good time up until the sexual violence scene occurred, right? But even then I was like, this is long. This is so long. It could have, I'm telling you, I could open to a page and I could automatically tell you that 5 paragraphs could have been turned into 2, maybe even 1. All right, there's so much internal monologue. There's so much description. It read to me like it was trying too hard to be atmospheric, and instead it just came off as very clunky. And I feel like that is a common theme with this book. Even the flashbacks weren't very concise. Like, at some points I was like, what does this have to do with anything? What does this have to do with anything that we're talking about? Other than the traumatic shock value usage and just us being confronted all the time with Alex's inner monologues about how she doesn't want to be at Yale. Other than those two things, we hear nothing inside Alex's head. All right? Nothing. And then Darlington, the only thing we know about him is that he loves the mansion that he's at. That was the only piece of personality that Mame had, all right? So it was just way too long. Because I DNF'd this book below the 50% mark, I did not rate this. This does not have a rating on my Goodreads. It does have emotional attachment to me, and not the positive kind, okay? I cannot look at this book without feeling physically nauseated, all right? I have tried one of Leigh Bardugo's books beforehand. I tried reading Wonder Woman, Warbringer, I want to say that was what it was called. The dialogue and the writing style was not for me. It was too choppy. This, just a whole nother beast. And to be honest, I think this is the last book that I will be reading by Leigh Bardugo. The whole thing just came off as this book trying so hard to be adult that it pulled out all of the punches in order to be like, oh, hey, I have a rape scene. Oh no, actually, in fact, I have 3. And then not to mention, I have drug usage, ODing, date rapes, torture. I have everything to make you guys realize that I am an adult book. And the only thing I have to say to that is tasteless. And the whole thing with the sexual violence scenes, I have no words anymore. And quite honestly, I would love it if I could just delete the image of the first sexual violence scene from my mind, but I can't. While I do think that sexual violence does need to be portrayed in books because it is something that happens in our world and the after effects are so traumatic, why did I have to be walked through it?
Editing, Emma here. Hi. I just wanted to pipe in for a minute, just plainly because I felt like I didn't really articulate my ending comment very well, like just right then. So, what I would like to revise it into is that while I do believe wholeheartedly that sexual assault and sexual violence in general does need to be portrayed in books because it is something that does happen in our world, unfortunately, and the causes are so damning and they are so traumatic, I think that the way this book portrayed it as a whole, like my whole thing with the fact that it did come off as it used this 3 sexual violence scenes as a shock value, and then the whole thing with the pornographic connotations with how the victims were portrayed and described in this book. Personally, I think it's disrespectful to survivors of sexual violence. I think it diminishes the act. I think it sexualizes it in a way. And I don't know, I think with my whole thing of like being led through it and walked through it step by step, if you're going to have a rape scene, like I said, at least let it be fade to black, right? Or a time jump with implications that a rape or a sexual assault did occur. I don't think it's necessary. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't think it's necessary for the reader to be walked through a non-consensual sex scene. I think it is incredibly damaging.
So if you're looking for an adult novel, I suggest picking up another one. At some points, I want to say it is intentional, but at other points, I want to say that Leigh Bardugo just bit off more than she could chew. So you guys, that was my rant review for Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I hope you enjoyed. I am content to never have to talk about this book again, to never have to think about this book again. Again, I mean no hate towards Leigh Bardugo or any people that like this book. This is just my opinion and how I felt about this book and why I don't think it's as amazing as some people are saying it is. So with that being said, you guys, I hope that you somewhat enjoyed this video, that you'll go check out Melissa Stacy's review down in the description, that you will, you know, hopefully avoid situations like mine, and that you guys have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.